So Buddha goes into explanation, detailed explanation. Then he says, here a bhikkhu, having gone to the forest, to the foot of a tree, or to an empty hut, sits down, having folded his legs crosswise, straighten his body, and set up mindfulness in front of him. Just mindful he breathes in, just mindful he breathes out. Now, here is another word that has been translated into English in various ways. That is Parimukhang Sati, mindfulness in front of him. Here, in front does not mean a spatial front. Here in front means temporal front, meaning in the present moment. In the present moment. When something is happening in the present moment, that is the moment one has to be mindful of that particular happening. Even if you fall asleep, you become mindful of falling asleep. So that
so you can wake up.
Eh? You can wake up. Okay. Keep in mind in front. Sometimes parimukha, abhimukha, both are similar words. Keep in mind in the present moment. Sitting in cross-legged, keeping the body straight, upright. He start the practice. Now, this does not mean that we always have to go to a forest, empty hut, or root of a tree to practice mindfulness of breathing. Why? That is not the only place where we breathe. We breathe all the time. Then why did the Buddha ask a bhikkhu, or gave in this discourse, this is how a bhikkhu practice mindfulness of breathing, mindfulness of the body. This is the very, very serious, intense beginning of the mindfulness practice, the beginning. Suppose somebody has never done practice of mindfulness, never practiced mindfulness, that person has to follow these instructions. Somebody who has practiced mindfulness doesn't have to go to a forest or empty house and so on all the time. But this is for a total, complete, fresh person, beginner. So sometimes people can argue, how can we sit under a tree in the dead of winter? Or go to an empty house where there is no heat? And so on. Somebody can pose a question. But this is the reason why this is a very practical teaching. So for a very beginner, this is how he begins. Then he mindfully breathed in, just mindfully breathed in, just mindfully breathe out. Where does this just come from? Just come from eva. Eva. emphasizing. That means one thing at a time. In order to emphasize, to do one, pay attention to one thing at a time. At that time, pay attention only to the breath. Sato va asasati, sato pasasati. Were implied in second sentence. First sentence, sato va asasati, just mindfully breathes. And the second one, sato eva is not mentioned, but eva is implied as it is used in the first one. That means we follow the same pattern. Just with mindfully he breathes in and mindfully breathes out. Now, there is no any other description of the mindfulness, the description of the breathing at the very beginning. That is the very first beginning. And then he goes into the using adjectives, adverbs. Dighang va sasanto. Dighang asasami iti pajanati. Now, here the translation is he understands, I breathe in long. When he breathes in long, he understands, I breathe in long. Now, although I breathe in long is used as subject predicate, I the subject, the rest is predicate, and it is a full complete sentence. Grammatically, in a language, we have to use this language, this grammar. I breathe in. But what he does in practice, what it really implies is as the breath comes in, the person, a bhikkhu or whoever, becomes fully aware of inhaling breath. Without saying, I breathe in long or I breathe out long. He becomes fully aware of the length of the breath. No words, no concepts, no ideas. If we use the concepts, ideas and so forth, our mind will be lodged in the word, concept. Mind goes to the word, sentences, concepts. But here we don't. At the very beginning, we avoid all the verbalizing, conceptualizing. Simply pay total attention to the length of the breath. Dighang va sasanto. This doesn't mean that the person must deliberately make the breath long. That is why the word va is used. Dighang va sasanto. We have to say, you cannot say in English, oh, breathe in long. We cannot say that. That means if the breath is long, becomes mindful of long inhaling. Dighang va sasanto. Dighang sasanto. Or dighang va pasasanto. Dighang pasasami iti pajana. When the breath is coming out, exhaling, naturally when the inhaling breath is long, exhale also becomes long. If inhale is long, exhale doesn't become short. So exhale also will become long. So the meditator become aware of the length of breath, long or long inhaling or long exhaling. Dighangva passasanto. Then rasangva sasanto, rasangva breathe in short. He understands, I breathe in short. In our practice, we don't use I breathe in short. We eliminate the word I. If we keep using the word I, then what we are doing unconsciously or inadvertently is strengthening the belief in I, emphasizing the belief in I. So all through we will go through the word I. If you want to send a text message, when you open it, this text message thing in the smartphone, you always see the word I, or among other words, always you see I, because it is so commonly, so frequently used word. And that is the very thing we want to eliminate in meditation practice. Our practice is to purify the mind. When we have it, we emphasize or strengthen the belief in I. Rasangva sasanto, rasangva samiti pajanati. Rasangva passasanto, that means when we experience or exhaling, breathe out short, we become aware of that. Then, experiencing the whole body. I will breathe in. He trains thus, experiencing the whole body, I breathe out. Now we have to train ourselves in this case. Train to experience the whole body. Here, some people say, body is the rest of the body. Now we move away from the breathing and become aware of the whole body. I don't know where they got that idea, but in this sutta, Anapanasati Sutta, when we talk about the breath, we talk only about the breath. In you remember Sabbakaya Parisangati means a whole body, means the whole breath body. Experience the whole body means whole breath body. Breath is the body. In Anapanasati Sutta, Buddha said, breath is one of the bodies. If you go to the Anapanasati Sutta, you will see, Buddha said, Assasa passaso kayanya tarang. Another body. And also if you see Chula Vedana Sutta, Venerable Dhammadinna emphasized when her ex-husband, previous former husband, asked her, what is Kaya Sankara? She said, inhaling and exhaling is all Kaya Sankara, bodily activities. So, here in the Anapanasati Sutta, Buddha said very clearly, inhaling and exhaling is one of the bodies. Inhaling, exhaling, one of the bodies. And in Maharahula Sutta also, Buddha said the internal body is the same as external body. That means internal air is the same as external air. So here body means experiencing the whole body. I breathed in and he trained thus experienced the whole body. I breathed out. That means there has to be a special, we have to train our mind to stay with the breath and see the entire breathing process, breath body, without it going into other body. If we go to other body, that means rest of the body, we are not training, disciplining. Here, he trains thus. That is why the word train, what do you call, sikkati. The word sikkati, sikha means discipline. So we have to train the mind to stay on the breathing. If you don't train, mind can go to other parts of the body. There are other sections of the mindfulness meditation, dealing with other sections that like 32 parts and the body, 4 elements and so forth. These are dealing with other parts of the body. Here in this section we deal only with the breath body. We should not jump into other parts of the body right now at the very beginning. This is one section. In this section we have to train ourselves, discipline ourselves. The meditator must discipline himself or herself to stay in that particular area. And as I mentioned from the very beginning, pay attention to one thing at a time. In this case we pay attention only to the breath during this section. To do that, we have to have a training. Otherwise, mind will be all over rest of the body. Then we cannot understand what is going on in the breath. We want to know what is going on in the breath, or what is happening with the breath. Then, Passambhayam kaya sankarang asisami sikkati. Passambhayam kaya sankaram passisami sikkati. Tranquilizing the body, for bodily formation, I will breathe in. He trains thus tranquilizing the body, I breathe in. Breathe out. Now, here again, bodily formations, kaya sankara. Kaya sankara is inhaling and exhaling. In Chulavedalla Sutta and elsewhere, kaya sankara is explained as bodily inhaling and exhaling. So that inhaling, exhaling must be kept in mind as a bodily function. What bodily function? Bodily function of the breath. Because breath is taken as a body, its function is this. Its function is what we have already discussed. And Passambhayam means tranquilizing. Tranquilizing does not mean that we deliberately try to tranquilize. Harder we try to tranquilize, lesser tranquilized it will be. We cannot deliberately tranquilize the body. when we keep paying total attention to the breath, without doing anything, or trying to manipulate breath, or trying to control breath, or do anything in the form of manipulation of breath, breath naturally become tranquil. And when it naturally becomes tranquil, we train the mind to stay with that feeling of tranquility. It naturally arises. The natural unfolding of tranquility should be noticed by without trying to deliberately making it tranquil. When we try to tranquilize the body, it will not become tranquilized. So, long breath is naturally long, short breath is naturally short. How short? Because when the lungs are tired of one pattern of breathing, maybe short breath, breathe, and then the lungs takes a little break, and then suppose you breathe at a certain speed, and then suddenly then breathe again. Take a long breath and breathe out and then breathe. If you watch a child or somebody sleeping, you can see that. Breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe. Suddenly take a deep breath and then go into regular breathing. So the person doesn't do it deliberately. Lungs themselves, like our eyes, when the eyes are tired, eyes blink. We don't deliberately do that. When the eyes are tired, it happens. Similarly, when the lungs are tired of breathing at certain speed, certain level, then lungs also take a little break and then change the pattern and then take a deep breath. So that is natural. Short breath also like that. And then we had to train, that is why the word sikkati, up to this rasangapassamiti pajanati. And then when we come to knowing the entire breath body, there we have to train the mind. That is why the word sikkati is used. Train the mind to stay on the course, on that particular segment as it is. That is, the last two sections are called sikkati. Previous two sections are called pajanati. You don't do anything to make it long or short, but to become aware of the breath body, instead of letting go the mind, letting the mind go to the other part of the body, we have to train sikkati, discipline. So we stop here for now and have a break and come again. Then I show where the missing part is.